What is AI?
AI is the application of numeric methods to teach an algorithm or a computer program to learn from patterns. So in that sense, machine learning and AI do go hand in hand. And the idea is typically these algorithms that you use to train AI imitate the human brain.
When you say machine learning, how does a machine learn?
Um, that's a very good question because that's something that a lot of people struggle with. I guess the best way to describe that is that we start with some initial state, right? Think about a child who knows very little when they're first aware of their surroundings, right? And by looking at, by observing their actions and the reactions to those actions or the response that they get, they kind of subconsciously start recognizing patterns. And after a while, some of this becomes knowledge, right?
How is that done? Is it like coding or something?
What we do is we create a structure where the more test cases we give it, the more it adjusts itself through some feedback loops as to the response that they give to the input versus the expected or the correct response, right?
Is it mostly pattern recognition?
By and large. By and large, it learns by recognizing patterns. In other words, a lot of the AI systems, when they give you an output, it is not clear to anyone why this output is obtained or why a certain course of action is recommended, right? Because that has been recognized as a shortcoming, right? So, because how do you trust something that can't explain to you why it's recommending what it's recommending? The nodes or neurons and their connections and the whole network is so complicated that it's impossible for even the developers of these things to know what the machine is going to come up with.
Why can't AI do anything impressive? Like, I mean, anything you mentioned, like there are like, even the generative images and stuff. It's like a friend of mine is a graphic designer and I'm just giving you an example. And he wanted to come up with, like the most simplest thing, like a flag, like a country flag, and just like in different colors. So like let's say the Canadian flag, right? It's red and white. So just orange and white, blue and white. He spent like 6 hours, just a basic prompt, and it couldn't even understand it. Even in journalism with ChatGPT, even with teachers, they're becoming very good at like figuring out if the student wrote it or ChatGPT wrote it very quickly.
For now.
Yeah, but why can't it do something that blows your mind? It just does basic things, and it can't even do that properly.
Have you seen the deep fakes recently?
Yeah, even those are easy to spot.
They are easy to spot, but they're pretty good. For an untrained eye, they're coming very close to the real thing. And like I said, this
Really, you
is
think
just.
so?
I was just watching Tom Cruise doing some crazy things the other day. I thought, I mean, if nobody sensitizes you that this might be a fake, you may be fooled. And this is where we are now. I personally am impressed with what AI can do.
What can it really do? Like the fear mongering is at an all-time.
Okay, so like I always give these two examples of the most revered white-collar professions. North America typically are doctors and lawyers, right? But if you look at what a lawyer does, we see these movies with a fancy lawyer, typically speaking with a southern accent in a court arguing a case, right? Those are the tip of the iceberg. Very few people actually do that. A lot of people just go and find previous cases, what the courts decided, and what have you. All of these to prepare that case so that it can be argued or tried, right? That's all pattern recognition. These tools can do that. Likewise, what a doctor does, by and large, is pattern recognition. We give them our symptoms, and it's just a doctor, basically based on their previous experiences, they can just guess this could be one of three things or one of four things, and they kind of have a heuristic in their minds as to what are the chances that it's this versus this versus this. So whatever rises to the top, they start treating you with that. And sometimes there's misdiagnosis, and they say in 2 weeks, if you're not feeling better, come back. That's exactly what they're doing. They're based on this pattern. This is my best guess. A machine can do that.
If AI takes people's jobs, how will those people make money?
Well, that's the $1,000,000 or $1,000,000,000 question, right? I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that the developments in AI kind of parallel the talks around basic income, for example, because there is a real concern. And it's not just AI, automation in general. I mean, many parts of the world, there is social unrest because people lose their livelihood, and things like immigration is blamed typically, right? But whose jobs are at stake right now? Used to be always the blue collar, and the recipe was always go educate yourself some more. Well, if you're an accomplished doctor or a lawyer or a professor, what else kind of education are you going to get if your part of your job is now done by a tool that is not very demanding, doesn't have sick days, doesn't have bad moods, and so the fear is people are going to take advantage of that. Those who who have the power to control the technology. So much so that one of the fathers of the field, who is actually a Toronto-based researcher, recently left his post in Google, saying that he's too risky and he doesn't want to be part of this anymore because he doesn't know what to expect, because the machines got very powerful and unpredictable at the same time.
Hinton,
Yes.
why is he sounding the alarm about AI? Right? Like every other week, there's another article or something, and he goes on like a big.
This is exactly what I try to articulate, right? So it's the garbage in, garbage out is a very big thing in AI. So what data we show it is what it learns, right? So these tools, these networks don't have a moral compass or whatever. Whatever we give it, that's what it learns. If we give it data, and that's another concern, right? The ethical use of AI. If we train a system with biased data, then it will just automate those biases. Because we can't see inside these tools and can't understand because they're very complex. The only way to test what they're doing is to actually observe from outside, just like we do with a person, right? We don't know what's in their brain. All we can do is we can observe how they react to a certain situation. And if we can do that systematically, we can kind of have an idea as to what this person is made of. You can say the same about...
Why is there so much attention placed on just one view of AI is going to take over and do this and existential threat and everything, when a lot of other people seem to believe it's not a threat?
Well, I mean, like in most things, it's neither here nor there. It's a gray area, right? So my personal belief is that it's inevitable. I mean, nobody can,
What is
over the
inevitable?
history, the technological progress eventually takes its place in society and in our works, in our lives, and whatever. But some people are just worried that it's going too fast without control.
But is it going too fast out of control?
Yes, in the last couple of years with generative AI, I think that's when all of a sudden AI became a thing that everybody talks about. If this, let's say, two different versions of ChatGPT can be so drastically different, where are we going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years? And that's why some of these technologists say, well, let's slow down and try to get ahead of this thing by
But why not
creating
accelerate
policy.
though? Why slow down? Like we were talking, like it should be able to do something that scares the crap out of you before you're like, okay, let's slow down. Like right now, like
Oh,
even
by
you.
the time it does that, though, it may be too late.
So
Right?
we're already behind?
Oh, yeah. There's the law always lags technological development, right? We have a lot of practical issues that there's not a whole lot of legal, development surrounding it. So, and if this thing accelerates, the fear is that it's going to get out of control. That's why the alarm. I mean, some of the technologists who do this are people who made literally billions with technology. So it is kind of interesting that Not only him, but Elon Musk's and Bill Gates of this world are even cautious about this. So that's very unique about it. And they do know something. But at the same time, I think what's going on is people are thinking, well, if I don't do it, the next person will. So nobody's going to hold back on their own. That's why they're calling for maybe higher level collective action policy, national level even maybe.
Are you excited about something in particular? What's the one you're looking forward to?
I'm more interested in technology that assists people, especially those vulnerable people. Old people can use an agent that can actually speak to them. Um, Let me preface it, not in lieu of a human being, but many people are alone. They don't have any company. An artificially intelligent agent is way better than that. I'm not suggesting that they should just, people should drop their real friends and only, befriend technology. But it is true that especially in the Western society, there's a lot of isolationism among old people, among people who are struggle with disabilities and so on and so forth. There's a lot of interesting things that can be done for these people through the use of technology. If nothing else, yeah, through intelligent monitoring, for example, they can be a little bit more independent and live by themselves because there will be somebody, so to speak, looking out for them, right? And that somebody may not be a person. It may be technology.
In certain countries now, they're replacing real therapists with AI therapists. Will AI make people less lonely or more?
The paradigm should not be replacing people with technology. The paradigm should be complementing what people do with technology and using technology when there's not enough people. So robots can do things that humans can't do because it's maybe too dangerous, right? Search and rescue operations, things that you do in very dangerous environments, such as underwater or in a fire situation, what have you. So that's why I see the technology being put in good use as opposed to doing things that people are already doing.
Can the advancement of technology, can it backfire? Like people have said that about the internet and the phones and stuff. Like they thought initially, people in the tech world, that it would bring people closer together, but it seems like the exact opposite. Look at dating apps and stuff. Crazy amount of people are single, struggle to find friends, all-time low, I think. The average young person now doesn't have a single friend. And look at the technology around us. Could it backfire with AI?
Definitely. It could. There's always a dark side of technology, right? And the reasons are complex. Sometimes it's nobody's intention, but it just so happens that, there's these unintended consequences.
Do we replace people with technology?
Yeah, I mean, so for example, if you think about social media, what it did do is people especially who have some really ideas or hobbies or even fantasies that are very marginal in the society, all of a sudden they can actually find like-minded people. So what that did was they kind of started feeling like they're mainstream. Technology enabled this because if somebody is like you in another corner of the world, now you're connected to them, right? So that I think is one issue, that these really marginal groups gain unproportional power. That's why there's a lot of hate speech and ridiculous things on social media now, and I don't believe that the proportion of that in social media is not parallel to the proportion of the people who actually hold those beliefs, but they have an amplified voice now. So that's, and then they have reach, right? So the innocent bystanders are exposed to this because the communication is very seamless. So that's part of the problem. And then those who are not that extreme, but maybe mainstream, are targeted by, and this is what I mean by the people's fears, because social media platforms target people using certain intelligent algorithms, talking about AI, right? Just to give them the kinds of things that they already believe in. Like we all know this by now. When you look at Facebook versus when I do, we see different things. So what that does is that it kind of polarizes people. People are not really exposed to different points of view. I think political polarization also, to a degree, come from that, because after a while, people literally think that everybody thinks like them, and when they see that there's a whole group of people that are opposing, or they're very like closely held beliefs, they feel like, oh, this must be fake. There must be some funny business going on because everybody I know is like me. Where are these people coming from, right? So that kind of isolation, the camp, the polarization kind of thing, I think, I don't know if it was intended or intended. I think it was intended in a way that that's what made social media addictive.
Well, like you said, everybody already knows this. We already all know that we're in echo chambers and, but why don't
And yet we
developers
like
change it? Yeah, no one seems to like it. Why don't they change it?
Because it requires a collective action, right? So if you're the only one, then you're going to be the only one out, and everybody's going to be doing their thing anyway. Now you're not even connected to the few people you were connected to, right? So how do we go back to those ways of being more in person, more intimate, whatever? That is a big challenge, and I think it starts with children. And there is some initiatives now to have children be children a little bit longer, meaning let's keep them away from social media apps. Let's keep them away from being connected 24/7. Easier said than done, obviously. But otherwise, this is very difficult. It's because it's just like you're constantly trying to fight the proverbial city hall, right? And that's one of the very few things people in different sides of the political spectrum seem to agree, that this stuff, the way it's going, dark
Everybody,
side
even
of
kids know
technology.
that, but why not change it?
Like, why do we keep smoking? We know that it does so many damages to our health, but once people are hooked on it, it's hard to give up.
By the way, the hate speech thing that you mentioned, will AI be racist? There are a lot of people who complain already that it has like racist tendencies.
Remember what I said about training? It all depends on what you train it with.
But doesn't it get information from the internet? The internet, there's nothing moderate on the internet.
No, it's whatever the developers give it.
So the developers are responsible?
Yeah, whoever trains it, right? Just like your children. I mean, there's all sorts of things out there, but what you expose your children to, that's what they learn. Same with this. So yes.
So you have to teach it to not be racist.
You need to give it the training data that is better quality. If everything that you show it, all the trends or the patterns are from a certain point of view, that's what it's going to learn, right? So where it comes in, like this is a real concern, is, for example, in HR applications, right? A lot of HR, and a lot of companies are, and that's another example, right? I mean, it's not super exciting to talk about, but they've been using AI to do screening for recruitment or promotion and what have you. And one main concern is, what training data are we giving them? You know, the patterns of what kind of people got promoted in the past. Well, if they were biased decisions, AI is going to perpetuate that, right? And this is a real thing, and there are real case studies on this. Likewise, if there were decisions made based on racial discrimination, and that's all the training data that we give to the tool, that's what it's going to learn. There's nothing magic about it. It's going to learn from what it sees.
There are some scholars and stuff who say that we're kind of in a creative dark period, or we have been. It's just their opinion, but they feel like AI, because it's going to be able to copy and generate a lot of works, it could push us back into kind of like a, like with the Greeks and the Romans, like a classic period where artists are forced to come up with highly original conceptual stuff because AI is going to be able to. It's the same way
I think just the mediocre or
with paintings and pictures and stuff, like it's a monumental.
Semi-good stuff, I think AI is already capable of creating.
Do you think it will push people?
So it should, because otherwise you're going to be replaced. Like all of us, right? If what you're doing isn't good enough, then you have to do either something else or you be much better at it. Like that's, and again, it's a scale issue. Not everybody will be able to rise to this challenge simply because not everybody has that level of talent. So I think the people who are really good, they're going to be even more empowered. But now because they will also arguably be the ones who know how to integrate technology in their work. But that's going to be a minority of people in every profession. And vast majority is either going to be able to, accept a lesser role or just diminish altogether and try to do something else. And that's, I think, the pattern people trying to figure out, like what to do about, right?